Hello, and welcome back to more Films That Are Constant Critique, where we take a look at films, some good, some bad, and some downright awful. I'm Bongo Baikov, joined by our host, Maverick, Dren, Zaria. This week, we are taking a look at the 1987 film, Prince of Darkness.
Wait, we're not doing Dracula, Prince of Darkness?
Oh no, did we watch different movies?
We'll get around to Hammer movies at some point, maybe. Prince of Darkness was released on October 23rd, 1987.
Wow, just in time for Halloween.
Yep. Another John Carpenter Halloween movie. It cost $3 million and made $14.2 million.
That's not bad.
So it did make its money back, but it wasn't considered a huge success. So it did end up getting a cult following later, though. So there's that. Seems to be a running trend with John Carpenter, actually.
Yeah, they seem to find their life once they're out on like home video.
Yeah, because the same thing happened to The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China. You know?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, this movie was directed by John Carpenter.
Wow, him again.
Yeah, what? We've had... this is his fifth time on the podcast?
I think so.
Escape from New York, Escape from LA.
Halloween, The Thing, Prince of Darkness.
And then this, yeah. And he also wrote the film under the pseudonym Martin Quatermass.
Huh.
It's a reference to the character Professor Quatermass, who... He's a character he appeared in some British sci-fi horror TV shows and films. Quatermass in the Pit, for example. From what I've read, what inspired this movie, Prince of Darkness, was that John Carpenter was reading about quantum physics. Which is very apparent when you watch.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, this movie's a bit confusing, but we'll get to that. And this was his return to horror films after Starman and Big Trouble in Little China. Because I guess he was trying to do more lighthearted stuff there. We should do Big Trouble in Little China at some point.
That is an insane movie.
That'd be another one that would probably be hard to talk about.
Yeah.
But hey, old Jack always says, what the hell? This was also a lower budget movie than those ones because Big Trouble in Little China was a box office flop. So he just went out and made this one on his own. And it only took about 30 days to film.
Wow, that's quick.
This is what John Carpenter can do in 30 days, apparently. That's impressive.
I would have loved to see, like, the 2-month version of this. Like, if he had just a bit more time to bake it, you know?
How long Halloween took to make? Maybe less time, but, you know. I don't know. The cast. We got Donald Pleasence.
Yeah.
Every time we've had him on the podcast, it was for a John Carpenter movie.
He's in quite a few of them.
Because he's in Escape from New York, Halloween, and now this. I don't know if there's any other ones. I might be forgetting one. No, I think that's it. But yeah, he was in quite a few John Carpenter movies.
And I will say, he feels like he was born to play the role of a priest.
With his character in this, I'll get to this later, but it kind of just felt like he was playing Loomis again.
It kind of did.
Um, Another actor who appeared in a John Carpenter movie, Victor Wong.
Yes.
He was in Big Trouble in Little China.
And he's not the only actor from Big Trouble that appears in this movie.
Yeah, because Dennis Dunn was also in Big Trouble in Little China. Victor Wong was also in Tremors.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Peter Jason, which we've had him on the podcast a few times, much to my surprise, because he's in the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh, as who?
Master Boyd. I don't remember who that is.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
And he played Duty Sergeant in Escape from LA.
Huh.
We also have Alice Cooper in this.
I not to jump too far ahead, but when I was watching the credits, it said Alice Cooper. I was like, surely they don't mean that Alice Cooper. And then Alice Cooper shows up, and I was like, oh, they do mean that Alice Cooper.
That's insane to me that he's in this. Like, and you can tell who he is, even though he's not wearing like his makeup they usually wear.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
And he even wrote a song for the movie called Prince of Darkness. And as if that wasn't crazy enough, his other film credits. So he played himself in Wayne's World. And recently I was reminded that he played Freddy Krueger's dad in Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare.
I didn't know about that.
I was rewatching the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and then I got to that one. I'm like, I forgot Alice Cooper was in this. And that he played Freddy Krueger's dad. That's so funny.
And then he also did a song for one of the Friday the 13th movies.
Oh, was it like...
I think it was 6. It was either 6 or 7.
He's also in the movie Monster Dog. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Nice. I might have.
It's really, really bad. It might make a good podcast.
What a poster. What a poster.
The poster is very memorable.
Oh, it's a Spanish movie.
Yeah. And then obviously Alice Cooper. I think a lot of people probably know who he is, but he's a rock singer. Yeah. Never heard the song "School's Out"? He's the one that did that song, among others. And speaking of music, the music in this movie was done by John Carpenter.
Whoa, who would have guessed?
And apparently it was in collaboration with Alan Howarth.
Yeah, he also did Halloween 3, I think, Alan.
And Halloween 2, I believe. I believe he did. I believe they both did the music for Halloween 2. And yeah. Halloween 3, that wouldn't surprise me either. This sounds like those movies. I mean,
yeah.
So, initial thoughts. I'll let you start on this because you're the one that wanted to watch this trip of a movie.
So this is only the second time that I have ever seen this movie, and thinking back to the first time I saw it, all that I really remembered is that it was kind of weird throughout, but it had like a fantastic atmosphere, and I loved the score. And of course, I really liked Donald Pleasence's performance in the movie. Rewatching it now, I still really love the atmosphere, and I love a lot of the buildup. I just think that it has a few problems with payoff, because it starts to ramp up a bit towards the end, but then kind of flatlines. It has a lot of really interesting ideas that it just doesn't know what it wants to do with. And so you'll get like a lot of like somewhat interesting introductions to different concepts throughout that are just never explained or just don't make sense. I feel like other than Donald Pleasence and Victor Wong, most of the cast is just completely forgettable.
Oh, and Alice Cooper.
And I think
Don't
I think
forget
my
Alice
biggest
Cooper.
Oh yeah, and Alice Cooper. But I think my biggest problem is that there are just too many characters in the movie.
There are, yeah, that it is a little hard to keep track of them. So, but would you say you liked it or just?
I say I like it, but there are a lot of problems.
Okay. So, I never understood the plot of this movie. Granted, I don't know jack shit about quantum physics, and Jack left town. So I was wondering if maybe on this rewatch I would be able to figure out what was going on, since I have to take notes on it. It is a unique movie, I'll give it that.
Yes. It is very unique.
It did grow on me on this rewatch. Because the first time I saw it, I was just confused. I didn't really know what was going on. It kind of felt like some of the problems you had with it were problems I had with it, where I felt like a lot of the characters were kind of forgettable and it felt a bit unfocused. But watching it again, I understand more of what he was going for with it, where there's like some metaphysical stuff and also some surrealism as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of surrealist stuff, which ends up being some of my favorite parts of the movie, honestly.
I think I'm in the same boat as you. I do like the movie, but I have problems with it. I would say, as far as John Carpenter movies go, I don't think it's his best, but I'd probably put it about where I would put The Fog, where it's decent, but it's not his best movie. So, you know. And like you said, I really like the tone and like the look of the movie, which we'll get into more, It helps that it was made by John Carpenter.
Yeah.
That's what lifts it above just being like a mediocre movie, is John Carpenter. I forgot to look up Leonard Maltin's review.
I'm sure he loved it. I'm sure he gave it a 4 out of 4.
I have to go upstairs to, like, get the Leonard Maltin guide, so...
Here, I'm gonna see if I can find it on Google.
Yeah, maybe. Because I know he didn't like The Thing. I do know that. And...
Oh, wow. He apparently gave... What are you gonna guess he gave the movie?
Oh, I have to guess? Oh, jeez.
Yeah, we're changing this up this time. What do you think he gave it?
I guess he gave it a bomb, actually.
Yeah, he gave it a bomb.
Okay. Yeah. I had a feeling.
Now, the funniest thing is, I found this on an article that has some comments. This was posted July 18th, 2010, and the commenter ends it with, "Let's hope The Ward is a strong comeback after Ghosts of Mars." That's a bit rough.
Yeah, Ghosts of Mars was really bad. But does it say what he thought of Prince of Darkness?
It just said the score that he gave it.
I could go look up his review real quick if you want. I'll be back in a second. Cerveza cristal. Cerveza cristal. What? This doesn't explain anything. Okay, all he does is just summarize
it. Nice.
Not for nothing is the religious sect involved called Brotherhood of Sleep. So I guess he found the movie boring?
That's what it sounds like.
That's like literally it. Like this is his review. I'm gonna read. The anti-god entombs wayward son Satan in a canister of glop in an abandoned LA church. It's up to priest Pleasence and the grad students of Professor Wong to clean up the mess. Not for nothing is the religious sect involved called Brotherhood of Sleep. That's it. That's all we get for a review.
Yeah, he didn't feel like writing a review that day.
I guess he hated it that much. Wow. Then again, he gave The Thing 1.5 stars.
I just don't think he likes Carpenter very much.
So is he still your mortal enemy then, in that case?
Yeah, no, he is still my mortal enemy.
Okay, all he did was summarize. I don't even have to read my own summary now, do I? Because I wrote out a summary. So the story of this one is that Dr. Blofeld Loomis finds some of the green crystals, which are now green goop, that were stolen from Superman's Fortress of Solitude. The green goop causes zombies to appear, including a cameo by Alice Cooper. And the slime makes his way to the sewer and creates some mutant turtles that end up learning martial arts and get named after painters and other artists. At least that's what I got out of it. I honestly don't know what the plot to this is. Like,
so I guess my summary of the plot.
Satan is green goo, I guess.
Yeah. So the green goo is actually the son of Satan. So basically, the son of Satan is trapped underneath this Catholic church, and so Donald Pleasence, I guess, recruits a bunch of college grad students to try and trap the son of Satan within the goo forever. It's a weird movie.
And there's also these, like, weird zombies that...
Yeah, they're like homeless people that just crowd around the church and kill people who leave.
Well, they act like zombies or something.
Yeah.
It's like... watching this movie, it sort of reminded me of another John Carpenter movie, Assault on Precinct 13, where the whole movie is these, like, zombie-like characters trying to break into one building. It kind of reminded me of that. Okay, so should we start with actually talking about the fucking thing?
Yeah.
I feel like it's taken a while to actually get to the damn thing. So, pros.
It's another banger of a John Carpenter score.
Yeah, the score in this is really good.
It fits the tone, like, perfectly.
It's a little subtler than some of his other scores are. Because I feel like a lot of his other scores are, like... This one feels a little bit more minimalist than his scores usually are. But it works, and again, it has that... The movie has that atmosphere that you'd expect from a John Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of his movies, you watch them, and they have this, like, weird mood that, like, sucks you in, and you kind of forget you're watching a movie for a few minutes.
Yeah, no, it's very captivating.
And not to get too metaphysical. Then again, with a movie like this, maybe that's fitting.
Oh, you have to get metaphysical.
It's kind of like you're entering another plane of existence or something. It's just very weird, and it gives... Again, it's kind of hard to describe, but it has that weird tone that you get in, like, a lot of John Carpenter movies.
Yeah.
It just helped a lot from the score. The camera work is really good in this. It's especially impressive that this was a low-budget movie, too.
Yeah, I was actually a little surprised when I saw that it was only $3 million.
I know, yeah. Then again, Halloween was really a low budget, and that movie looks great, so, you know. I guess all you really need is good score, good camera work, and Donald Pleasence, and you have a movie. So.
And I think another thing that helps set the tone for the movie are the opening credits. Because like that whole sequence is just dripping with atmosphere. It's like 10 minutes and it introduces you to like all of the main characters and like sets up the plot.
Uh-huh. It definitely focuses, because it's a lower budget movie, it definitely focuses more on like mood than special effects.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like it's all set in one location, so you feel trapped and isolated, which that's another thing you get in a lot of John Carpenter movies, is they're kind of just trapped in one spot and there's a force trying to get in and kill them, you know. That stretches as far back as Assault on Precinct 13, you know, but it's in a lot of, you know, a lot of his most famous work, you know, like The Thing, for example. It's basically, what if The Thing didn't have the special effects budget?
That's actually somewhat accurate.
Because that kind of is what the monster in this. It's like this, like when the goo like gets on people, it like kind of possesses them. So it's sort of like The Thing a little bit. They don't shapeshift, but you know, it's like, again, you can't tell until it's too late, like who's possessed and who isn't. So
yeah.
So it definitely takes full advantage of what little money that they had to make this thing.
And there's a lot of pretty interesting visuals throughout too. Like the green goo throughout the movie, it's slightly confusing, but it'll like drip upwards into the ceiling, which I always thought looked pretty cool.
The goo does look cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like you'll see like weird, like, there's a lot of bugs in this movie.
There's a lot of bugs in this movie. Like even from the very beginning, you'll see like ants like crawling all over people's windows and into like TVs.
There's like this one shot where a woman was like covered with ants, which this is the surrealist stuff I was talking about, because I think that's a reference to this surrealist short film called Odinchian Andelu. I don't know how to pronounce that, but it was a short film by Louis Buñuel and Salvador Dali, so you know it's gonna be fucking weird. There's like a shot in that movie where a guy's hand has like ants crawling out of it. You know, it's really weird. There's just a lot of weird images in this movie.
Well, some of my favorite that is sort of surrealist. Some one of my favorite parts of the movie is this recurring dream sequence.
Oh right, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like this vision coming to them from the future. It's sort of, it looks like it's been shot by just recording something off of a TV. So it's kind of blurry and there's this kind of creepy voiceover going over it. And you learn that at the very end of the movie, it's like a vision of essentially the embodiment of Satan coming back into the world.
Okay. Yeah, I remember finding that weird when I saw it, because it like looks like VHS footage.
Yeah,
it looks like something you see in a found footage movie, but it's a dream sequence, because it shows up when like characters like fall asleep, and then they're like realizing they're all having the same dream. So it kind of, at some points, the movie sort of felt like Nightmare on Elm Street a bit. Which, granted, maybe that's partly because I was rewatching those movies recently, but like even the music score, it sounded a little bit like Nightmare on Elm Street at some points. And just the weird visuals in it too, like a lot of bugs again.
Yeah,
there's a lot of bugs in this movie. Yeah,
and the visual effects are pretty good throughout
for
too.
being low budget. Yeah, they actually look pretty good.
And like speaking of the bugs, there's that one guy that turns into like a pile of cockroaches, and then you just watch him like collapse in on himself.
Oh jeez, yeah, that was gross.
Yeah.
Or there's that woman that like swells up and gets like red boils all over. At first I thought she was like pregnant and this was gonna turn into like Rosemary's Baby or something. But then she gets all bloody all over. She like pokes her hand through a mirror or something, and that's when you see like Lord Darkness's hand coming out of the mirror.
I feel like that was another pretty interesting thing whenever they went into like that mirror world, because it looks like they're going into water. It's interesting, but it's also one of those things that I'll talk about later that I kind of have some problems with.
Okay.
Just because it's really unexplained and feels sort of half baked.
Yeah. There are a lot of just weird like images and stuff in this movie, and it was kind of making me think of like other movies. Like while I was watching, I was thinking, you know what, this actually would have been a pretty good Exorcist sequel.
Yeah.
Or at the least, it would have been better than most of the actual Exorcist sequels. Because, I mean, it has a possessed woman puking. It might as well be an Exorcist movie. You know?
It's got the devil in it. That's all you need. And it's got Donald Pleasence as a priest. That's all you need.
Yep. Oh, another thing. Our last podcast, both of the movies had dogs dying in them.
Oh, yeah.
So I was hoping our next movie wouldn't, and thankfully, unless I'm forgetting something, I don't think any dogs die in this movie.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think there were any dog deaths.
So that's a positive. There aren't any dogs that die. Although if anybody out there hates bugs, there's some parts of this movie that you won't like. So.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we should probably talk about, okay, so we have Donald Pleasence in this movie playing a Catholic priest. And it is a good performance, because, I mean, it's Donald Pleasence.
It's Donald Pleasence. Yeah, exactly.
You know? But while watching this, though, I just... it really did just feel like he was playing Loomis again.
Whenever he got animated, he really felt like Loomis.
I know, yeah. Like, I think he even says the name Michael at one point, and that really threw me off. So. Or, well, I might have missed her. He said either Michael or my God or something.
Mm.
Yeah, like whenever he
one thing that I find
angry
funny
or concerned, he just sounded like Dr. Loomis from the House.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you noticed this, but in like the during the opening credits when he's typing up that letter, he's typing fast. Like really, really fast on a typewriter.
Probably has to. I mean, you know, you gotta stop the world from the Prince of Darkness. You gotta stop
the son of Satan from bringing back Satan from the mirror world. Because it makes sense.
And he had this interesting dynamic with Victor Wong's character, because Victor Wong
with the professor.
He plays a physics professor. So usually in horror movies, you kind of have, or like sci-fi movies, you know, genre films, I guess, you have science and religion kind of on opposing sides, whereas here you have science and religion joining teams. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. It is a pretty interesting idea, and even though it's not explained super well, I feel like the way they tried to do it was interesting. So, like, they're decoding these ancient scripts that have all these equations in them they need to translate back. And it's basically what it tries to set up is that Jesus and, like, you know, whoever else helped to stop Satan were extraterrestrials. And so they sort of buried hidden knowledge to help man fight off against Satan and the son of Satan in the future.
Or are they interdimensional beings? That's kind of what this movie seems to be. I'm going to go aliens,
because that's what they called them.
That's kind of what this movie seems to be implying, though, is that there's interdimensional beings.
Yeah. No, it feels very much like an Ancient Aliens episode.
But it was interesting just having, like, religious elements and also, quantum physics in there as well. It was
Yeah,
very...
yeah.
Maybe it could have been explored better in some ways, but it was interesting,
Yeah.
There's a lot of concepts here that I don't tend to see in movies like this, so yeah. There's also a lot of shots of the moon in this movie, I noticed.
There are, and it's usually close to the sun, so I'm wondering if they were trying to show, like, there's about to be an eclipse or something, and that's why this is happening.
That's something,
You know who should we talk about next?
Oh, Alice Cooper?
Exactly, Alice Cooper.
All he does in this movie is he walks around looking creepy with some other people, and that's it.
Well, he stabs a dude with a bicycle at one point.
All right. Oh, I think that. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because John Carpenter, when he asked, I read this somewhere. John Carpenter wanted him to like bring his like stage prop and use it in the movie, so that's why that's in there. If you didn't know that, because Alice Cooper was known for just doing insane shit during his concerts. Like he was actually friends with Groucho Marx for a little bit towards the end of his life. And he brought Groucho to one of his concerts, and Groucho said that Alice Cooper might bring back vaudeville if he keeps it up, because his stage antics were just so ridiculous.
That's pretty funny, actually.
But yeah, it's so weird seeing Alice Cooper in this movie. Does he even have any lines?
I don't think so. I think he just stands around looking creepy. But the funny thing is, the scene where he kills the one scientist, you can hear the Prince of Darkness song playing in the background.
Right, yeah. I guess if you're going to include it somewhere. Because, yeah, that's all I remember about him in this movie, is he just walks around, like... Yeah. I guess because it's already distracting that you have Alice Cooper in this movie, so... Oh, boy. Then again, what was it? Ghost of Mars has Ice Cube in it, so I guess...
Oh, no.
I guess... Oh, no is right. His acting was not good in that movie. Which is weird, because he was really good in Boys in the Hood, so, I'm trying to think if John Carpenter did that. Yeah, he had Isaac Hayes in Escape from New York, so I guess he was,
Oh, yeah.
He did, like, casting singers in his movies. I guess Kurt Russell played Elvis in a movie, so...
Yeah, that's close enough.
Yeah, kinda. Roddy Piper, he was a wrestler, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, back on topic. But yeah, Alice Cooper is in this movie. That's weird. They also show a Tom and Jerry cartoon at one point.
Yeah, and it's the one where Tom gets sent to hell, which feels like a pretty good foreshadowing.
Yeah, that is fitting. This movie also kind of felt like a Ghostbusters movie if it was taken seriously.
I can see that, yeah.
Like, the green goop was kind of reminding me of the mood slime from Ghostbusters 2 a little bit. One woman pronounces buried the same way that James Rolfe does.
Buried,
yeah.
There's some pretty funny moments that have sprinkled throughout, which are kind of nice to see.
I'm trying to remember.
So there's one where like one of the scientists is trying to talk to the professor, and he just like walks out of the shot, which apparently wasn't planned.
Oh,
and so the actor just sort of stands there like, okay, bye.
Oh, the Blue Oyster Cult symbol appears in this movie. I don't know if you noticed that.
Where?
It's like on a guy's arm. There's like a marking on a guy's arm, and it's the Blue Oyster Cult symbol.
That's kind of funny, actually.
I don't. The problem is, I just don't know what to say about this movie aside from
because I think the biggest like pros to this movie are its tone and style, and then
the acting from Pleasence, and Victor Wong, and then the weird like imagery in it.
The surreal imagery.
It's kind of one of those movies you have to watch it to like kind of get
to understand sort of what people are getting at with that.
There was one part where a character said he had to go to the bathroom, and guess where I took a bathroom break? I like to do that sometimes.
Just wait for a character to say that they have to use the bathroom and then
it's
go
like
use
the movie's
bathroom.
giving me permission to, you know. There's also like a weird fake out scare at the end.
I'll be honest, that one actually got me for a second.
I forgot it was even in the movie, actually.
Yeah.
He like rolls over in bed and like sees the bloody face. Yeah, that was something. Wonder if that was a Mask of the Red Death reference, like the boils and like the red.
It might have been.
Might have been, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, you know, John Carpenter. So, is there anything else you want to add?
I think it's probably time we get to cons.
Yeah, I feel like there's a little more to talk about here. This is a hard movie to talk about.
Yeah.
It's very slow and moody. It feels like not a lot happens. And when stuff happens...
so that was one of my...
I don't really know what's happening when stuff happens.
So, one of the things... I think it has great build-up, but there's almost no payoff. It takes about an hour into this hour and 40-minute long movie before things get going, and then they don't really get going that fast.
The payoff is Satan is, like, in this mirror, they destroy the mirror, and then Satan goes away.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what happens?
That's basically, the end of the movie.
Okay. Yeah, it was a bit anticlimactic. I also thought, like, it was also very, like, a lot of the movie was just people walking and talking.
Yeah. And, like, that would be fine if the writing was better. Because the writing isn't great.
The dialogue, there were parts of the dialogue that were a bit awkward, like, this is
like,
or that priest is Looney Tunes. You know, just like, what?
Yeah, there's also just a couple exchanges like, that's an extremely sexist thing to say. Confirmed sexist and proud of it.
Okay, yeah, they were weird.
Or like the one guy telling Lisa, anyone tell you could pass for Asian?
Oh, right, yeah, and
like,
she's Asian.
Like, just some really weird lines thrown in there.
Yeah. Some of the lead characters I thought were a bit weak, like, because there's this, like, romance with these two boring physics students, and that just didn't work at all.
I think Brian's mustache is kind of funny, because it's very much like a 1970s mustache.
It's like a porn stash, yeah.
Yeah.
Or, like, if you, like, look at, like... a lot of like 70s like album covers, like he could have been in like Orleans or like what I'm trying to remember the name. England Dan and John Ford Coley. That sounds it looks like one of those types of mustaches.
Yeah. And I'll say it's a big cast.
Some of the
but
acting
most
was
of them
a bit
just aren't
rough.
that good. Exactly.
because you got like you just got all these like physics students, and most of them aren't that interesting. Like really, the interesting characters in this were Dom Pleasence's character and Victor Wong's character.
Yeah.
That's where the like meat of the movie was basically.
Yeah.
I really should have put
Also,
subtitles on because honestly,
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know what the fuck they were talking about half the time. It was a lot of just like, again, you could tell John Carpenter was reading quantum physics, and guess what?
Yeah, and
I
he
don't
didn't fully.
understand. I don't understand quantum physics. I really don't.
I kind of get the feeling that John Carpenter didn't understand quantum physics either.
That might be true. Yeah. Yeah, it was just maybe a little too metaphysical.
And I
There's
think
a part
that's
of me
another
though that
problem with the movie.
wonders. There's a part of me
Yeah.
that wonders if maybe, like during the editing process, if like the studio started interfering with it, and that's why the movie is hard to follow.
Maybe.
But I don't know.
That's another problem that I have with the movie is that it has a lot of like interesting ideas, but it just doesn't execute them incredibly well. Like at one point, Donald Pleasence and Victor Wong had this conversation about every particle has an anti-particle. So there's God. Well, then there's an anti-God as a result, and he lives inside of a mirror. It feels like it had a good base, and then they just threw in, oh, it exists within a mirror. And that's where you kind of lose the plot on that. It's not explained, and then Satan's just in a mirror.
Satan is like the son of Satan is like green goo.
Yeah, that never really gets explained, why he's just a vat of green goo.
It's such... Yeah, it is kind of silly when you think about it. Says a lot though to John Carpenter's like talents as a director that he's able to make this movie pretty eerie for most of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like who knows, maybe if he had a little bit more money, things would have been better, or maybe if he really a little more time to work on the script is probably the best bet.
I feel like that could have helped things if he just had like another draft or two of the script.
With like the actors, I mean, you can only really hire who you can if you're making a low budget movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised he was able to get Don Pleasence at all.
Yeah.
For this, but I guess Don Pleasence really liked working with John Carpenter, so yeah. Making friends in the film industry is very important. So, do we have anything else to add about the cons, or?
I think that's pretty much it. Again, it's a hard movie to talk about, mostly because the big draw in the movie is its like sort of vibe and its atmosphere.
Yeah, which is what.
And it's like you can only describe the tone of a movie in so much depth without just telling someone to watch it.
Well, okay, so it's part of the Apocalypse trilogy. Let's talk about that. How does this connect to The Thing?
So, the Apocalypse trilogy, it's almost an anthology of just like potential world-ending, like potential apocalypses. So The Thing, it was all about sort of paranoia and fear with this creature that could change itself to look like anything. This one is much more of a literal apocalypse because it's Satan coming back onto Earth.
And also in the Thing, it was an alien rather than a ethereal being.
Yeah.
Although both movies do have some sci-fi elements in them, so...
Yes.
And also, again, I think I mentioned this earlier, but they are trapped in one location for basically the duration of the movie.
Which is pretty similar to The Thing.
And sometimes they're not sure who to trust because they might be possessed. So,
Yeah. It's weird to say, and maybe we'll talk about this a bit more in the next episode, but In the Mouth of Madness feels like the most separated out of the movies, even though the world actually ends in that one.
I feel like In the Mouth of Madness, like I'd have to rewatch it actually.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
feel like that one connects more to Prince of Darkness than it does The Thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Wait.
But
I don't know. Because the creatures in that are kind of like The Thing.
the creatures are kind of like The Thing, but I think Prince of Darkness and The Thing are closer just because of that. They're both in one location, and it's. I guess In the Mouth of Madness is a paranoid movie, but it's a different type of paranoia. Because this paranoia is like you don't know who you can trust, but In the Mouth of Madness, that paranoia is like everything's been written for me by this one author who just controls my life now.
The writer who is clearly, his name is very clearly an analog of Stephen King. We'll get to that.
Have you read Sutter Kane?
Sutter Kane. That's gonna be an interesting movie to talk about.
I'm honestly really excited. I love him.
But like the score, okay, the score in this one sounds more like The Thing.
Definitely, they're both sort of eerie, slower paced. Which is funny considering that the Thing score was done by somebody other than John Carpenter.
Yeah, Ennio Morricone. Because I'm just trying to figure out, like, why are these 3 movies a trilogy?
So I think it's just because each of these movies are about like a potential apocalypse or end of the world. Where the Thing, if the Thing gets out, then it's however many hours or however many days until the Earth is completely taken over. Prince of Darkness is about the devil coming back and taking over the world, and then In the Mouth of Madness is about an author who can change reality, essentially destroying the world.
Trying to remember if there's like there aren't any characters that overlap with these 3 movies. No. Really, I guess all they really have, like, when you pare it down, is like John Carpenter made them. That's what you.
Yeah. Maybe that's all you really need.
Maybe it'll make more sense. But again, it's been a while since I've seen In the Mouth of Madness, so.
Hey, we'll get Sam Neill on the podcast, so that's fun.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's quite a few actors we'll finally get on the podcast in that one.
Oh yeah.
Again, I'll have to rewatch In the Mouth of Madness at some point. I'll have to because we're doing it, and this is the next podcast. So do you have any overall thoughts on this one then?
Yeah, so I think I would still, despite the problems with like the dialogue and the somewhat confusing plot points, I think I still would recommend seeing this movie at least once.
If you like John Carpenter movies.
Yes, because the atmosphere is like undeniably John Carpenter. It's an incredibly eerie film to watch. You just get like this sort of like this feeling of like slow dread sort of creeping into you.
Because I mean, I can't imagine like a John Carpenter skeptic would be converted with this movie, because it's very much not his best.
But the score is great. Donald Pleasence is great. Victor Wong's great. It's fun to see Alice Cooper show up. Visually, it's very interesting, both in terms of like how it's shot and the direction, but also special effects, which we talked about a little bit. That being said, I think it's probably the worst of the Apocalypse trilogy. It's not like a terrible movie, but it's my least favorite of the Apocalypse trilogy.
From what I remember, I think it's mine as well. Like, it's not bad, but like I definitely prefer The Thing, that's for sure. And I remember really enjoying In the Mouth of Madness, but I need to watch it again to like. But from what I remember of it, I remember liking it more than this. Maybe partly because of the cast, because that one has Sam Neill in it. For fuck's sake. And I just remembered finding the story to that one more interesting. So, but again, I need to see it again. Was there anything else you wanted to?
I think that's it for my overall thoughts.
Again, I do enjoy this movie. I didn't know what to make of it when I first saw it, though, I'll be honest. But like watching it again, kind of like it made me appreciate it more, because I'm like, okay, it has this really, really eerie atmosphere to it, a really good score. Just a strange vibe. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's just... There's only, like, one person that can make a John Carpenter movie, and that's John Carpenter, so...
Exactly.
So even though it's not his best movie, it does have, like, the hallmarks of things that are his strengths, as a filmmaker. And it has Donald Pleasence in it, so even when a movie's bad and it has Donald Pleasence in it, I mean, that's always a good thing. Like the Halloween 5 and 6, those movies suck, but Donald Pleasence is really good in those movies.
Yeah. He's the only reason why you should ever think about watching 5 and 6. But don't watch 5 and 6.
Definitely don't watch 6. That's for sure.
6 is awful.
Imagine, though, if John Carpenter had made Halloween 6.
It probably would have been a little bit better.
Although, granted, that was the 90s, and John Carpenter was not on his A game at that time, so... But yeah, like, Donald Pleasence, like, even when the movie was not working, he still gave it his all, So I always like seeing him in a movie. Victor Wong, I liked him in this. His whole dynamic with Donald Pleasence, where, like, they're in two different fields, they don't always agree, but they're trying to stop the forces of darkness from taking over the world because nobody else can, I guess. Alice Cooper has a cameo. That's interesting to see. Maybe his character in this was also Freddy Krueger's dad. There's a fan theory. Oh boy. The music, did I say that? The music's good.
Oh, yeah.
And for being a low-budget movie, the effects aren't bad, It's just that some of the acting is kind of wooden or awkward. The script could have used a little more polishing, but, like they say in Some Like It Hot, nobody's perfect. Okay. And I enjoyed it more than Halloween 3. So
hey, that's really all you need, is to have a movie that's worse.
It had a more interesting plot than Halloween 3, and the characters were better, There's that.
Do you think Halloween 3 would have been saved if the main character was played by Donald Pleasence?
Oh, let's see, the main character. Oh, you mean the guy that's cheating on his wife and banging everybody?
Exactly.
That wouldn't... I don't think that would make the movie good, but it would make it funnier, just because of how much that character doesn't fit Donald Pleasence.
I would like him to, like, talk.
But if Donald Pleasence had been in that movie, if Donald Pleasence had been in that movie, he would have just been playing Dr. Loomis.
Yeah.
Which I think I said that during the podcast. Like, they should have had Donald Pleasence playing Dr. Loomis in that movie, and, like, the guy that works at the factory, Daniel Hurley's character, he's like one of his old patients from the asylum.
Well, what if that would have been the Halloween? What if that would have been the Halloween anthology series? Was just Dr. Loomis hunting all of his old patients.
That would have made it. It would have connected it more to the first movie, and also that would have just been so much more entertaining. Just having Donald Pleasence just running around like freaking out about shit, you know. Okay, Prince of Darkness. You know, if you like some of John Carpenter's stuff, check it out. You know, it's an interesting movie. I wouldn't call it like a great movie, but it definitely makes for an interesting watch.
Exactly.
You watch it, and there's really not much else like it. So you know, there's that. And next time we are doing another John Carpenter movie.
Yes. Join us for In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah, which I remember enjoying it. I don't remember much of it though. Well, okay, I remember some stuff, but it's very Lovecraftian from what I remember. Like, I remember watching it and just thinking, I mean...
Oh, yeah.
This might be the best H.P. Lovecraft movie that we've gotten that isn't technically an H.P. Lovecraft movie. I digress. So, yep. That's it.
Play the Andrew Griffith.
Griffith? Okay.
Griffith.
I was just thinking, what if Andy Griffith had played Griffith from Berserk? What would that be?
That'd be a very different anime.
He'd basically just be playing Lonesome Roads again. I mean...
Yeah.
Good night, you stupid idiot. Good night, you miserable slob.